Hello and welcome to Queued Pixel. I am back with my open source software development stream, continuing my work on my Twitch Craps Table chatbot today. Let me go bring up my stream schedule so you can see when you can expect me to stream next. Right now, today, I'm working on the open source Twitch table chat bot that I've been working on for the last few streams. My next stream will be 1 week from today, Sunday, February 10th at 9 a.m. Sorry about the long delay between my streams. My schedule is just a little too busy to make more time for streaming just at the moment. But still is trying to stick to at least 1 day per week for the moment. This chatbot is open source. If you want to check out the source, you could go to my repository on GitHub. This is github.com/cubepixel/twitchcrapsbot. I'll push code changes to that repository throughout the stream, so you will be able to see the latest code as soon as it is available. Let's go look at what I've been doing over the last few streams, or at least over the last stream. We added a command for players to get their own balance. And we also added the ability to make pass line bets, which was actually a pretty elaborate change. We had to do quite a few changes to make that happen. That's why there's only those 2 changes from last time. Just didn't have a whole lot of time to make more changes. Some other things coming up is we've talked about adding a dice rolling cheat code. I have some thoughts for how to make that happen. Maintain a minimum balance for each players, so that players below the minimum balance are set to the minimum after a 7 out. As one approach to injecting money into the system. I've thought about other approaches where perhaps players below a minimum balance will slowly receive money over time. We'll play with it. This will be nice and simple, and we'll start with this and see where we go from there. Save player balances is also on the list, so that if you quit the bot and restart the bot, that player balances will be restored. Allow players to serve as the bank. I'm not sure about this one. There's some complexity to that. What I might do is postpone that and add additional craps bets instead. But we'll see. However, the first thing I want to do is I was looking over my README before the stream started, and I noticed that it's not quite up to date. We've talked about our configuration, and we have channel and owner, but I think there's something else that has been added that we haven't documented yet. So let's just go take a look at that. Yeah, so we have channel, owner, message interval has been added, and starting balance has been added. So let's go ahead and document these 2 configuration settings here. Let's just bring over the 2 options. It was message interval and starting balance. So channel owner, message interval, starting balance. I'm going to stick with those basic descriptions. They're pulled straight out of the configuration file. If you need to, we can always add in more elaborate descriptions, but we'll start with just these for the moment. Let's go see what that looks like. Document the undocumented configuration values. Properties. Maybe document new configuration properties, because they were added fairly recently. I forget exactly when, but starting balance was added during the last stream. Message interval was probably added before the stream before. We'll push that up to GitHub, and let's take a look at our updated README file. Great, so we have message interval and starting balance. The reason why I wanted to start there is because when we look at the add dice rolling cheat code, I want to add a new debug configuration, and I want to document that. Well, let's see. Let's start over here. Let's say, well, first let's add a comma. I need to remember to add commas here. And we'll say debug, false. So we'll start it at false. Whether or not to enable debugging features. Now let's go ahead and add this to our README. Keep that vague and generic for the moment until we have something more specific to put in there. The main feature I'm going to control with this is the access to the role command. That's already limited to just the bot owner. But now that I'm going to add in the cheat function, I basically want that to only work if debug is set to true. So let's go ahead and copy these over to my own personal config and set those to true in my personal config. There we go. Well, it's not set to true yet. That's just copy pasted. Let's set it to true. There we go. So that way we'll have access to those settings, and we can test those back and forth and see if those will work for me here. So let's take a look at the code. We have our craps table class. This is where we would control this stuff. And we have a roll function. This will generate the random numbers, the die 1, the die 2, the result to display a message, and then we have all the logic. We probably want to do a roll command. Let's see what we have here. We have roll, show balance, handle, bet. Yeah, I'll probably want to do like a roll command, so let's go just type in roll command. And let's just rename these as well. We'll say balance command and bet command. Let's go just rename these now while we're thinking about it. We have the roll command. The balance command. And the bet command. Anything else underneath this? Nope, that's it. Apologies, I still need to mute myself every once in a while. I'm still recovering from a bit of a cold, so I'll do my best, but we'll have to mute myself every once in a while to cough and whatnot, so apologies for that. See, one of the things I want to add here is let's add an else. I just want a small error message if a user types in a command that doesn't exist. Recognized command. Let's go ahead and test this, see if I've broken anything so far with my changes. And so we've got, you must specify a subcommand. Yeah, so that still works. I'm not sure if I like that message, but let's try. We'll say craps balance. Balance is 100. Craps bet pass 1. And craps roll. Now let's try that error, say craps foo, and see what it does here. Unrecognized command. Excellent. So all the basics are working. Let's go look at this. Let's just say you must specify a command. Now we'll just say you must specify a command. We'll stick with the basics there. Let's create a new function for processing a role. So process role. We'll say die1, die2. Let's bring over everything from the roll command, except for generating the dice. So basically everything from this point forward. Yeah, so we produce the die total from die 1, die 2, so whoever calls this will we'll just do that. Print out the roll. Send the roll as a message. Yeah, we'll just say print out the roll. People will know what that means. So this will basically take the roll. You'll randomly determine the dice. Randomly determine the die roll. So nothing's changed yet. We're still randomly determining the die roll. We're just doing some small refactorings to make it easier to do the cheat code option here. Let's go test this, see if this works here. Oops. Like something. Oh, yep. My bad. Let's try craps without a command. You must specify a command, and let's try craps roll. Process roll is not defined. Probably because it needs to be this.process roll. Yeah, listening to this. We'll try this one more time. Excellent. So all working so far. The next thing I want to do is let's limit access to the roll command only if debug is enabled. So we have command is roll, and username to lowercase is equal to order lowercase. And we need this dot config, or actually I think it's just config. And let's double check what this says. Should be debug. So debug should be true. And because we can't fit it on one line anymore, I am going to just do the multi-line here, just so it's obvious that this is one block of code. I'm tempted to line these up as well. So we have these two rules here. The username must match the owner, and debug must be enabled. Now, since this is the only admin command we have so far, you might wonder why we have both of these. Why not just get rid of debug? And the reason is because going forward, I'm going to have some admin commands that will not be debugging commands, and so I want to differentiate between what is a debugging command and what is not. And obviously, I want the debugging commands to only be accessible to the owner. So for now, strictly it is an excessive check, but I am kind of thinking ahead a little bit and know where I'm going with that. So let's go ahead, well let's test this as is and see if this works. Just make sure I haven't screwed up anything here. Okay, great. So we do that, and it still works. Now let's try this again, but set debug to false, and make sure that it's still that it doesn't work at this point. That it should complain about unrecognized command. Excellent. Go back to true. Alright, so if we're going to pass in die rolls, let's go. We need to pass the command in here. Let's go look at how to make this work. So we're going to need to check that it starts with the word roll. Sorry, we need to check to see if it starts with the word roll and a space. So if it does not, we could basically do a random roll. Let's just move this comment over here. Update the craps tables. Based on the results of the specified roll. Let's go through, look to see if we have any comments we can add here. Oh, the roll command. That comment really doesn't add anything, so I'm gonna not put that there. Yeah, so check if die values were specified. Now let's just bring this whole thing up. Because what I want to do is, let's say, yeah, here's process roll. Let's try process random roll. Update the craps table based on the results, or let's say perform a random die roll. So this will basically be what it was before. And so the reason why I do this is because if we don't specify a roll, we're just going to do this. This.process random roll. Otherwise, we need to pull out the actual roll here. Say var values equal to command. Oops, it's not message, be command. If die values are not specified, perform a random roll. Don't need to be too clever here. Perform a random roll if die values are not specified. So values is equal to that. Let's just comment this out for the moment. And we'll say use this user message values plus. Just so we can begin to test this and see if this is working so far. Basically, it should strip out the roll command, give us just the values afterwards, and print that out, and then we'll start parsing this. So let's just test that much to see if this much works. So if I go here, I say craps roll without any specifier. I should just do a random roll. Let's just see if that works. Alright. We had a 7 winner. Now let's do a craps roll with a foo specifier. And recognize command. Alright, so our command processing logic doesn't handle this case. We probably need a starts with here. Yeah, so we need a starts with. Let's just grab this whole block here. Yeah, it's a mess. I think that'll work. So the command starts with roll, and our username matches the odd bot owner, and our debug is enabled. So let's try that. So the same test as before, we'll do a craps roll without any specifier. It does work, and now let's say craps roll with a specifier, a foo specifier, and we get a error. As he complains because username is not specified. We are going to need the username here. Username, comma, command. So yeah, let's say username, comma, command. Let's pass in username here. Now we know that the username is going to be the administrator, so we could shortcut this and just assume it's the administrator, but I think at some point in the future we might allow for multiple administrators or multiple bot owners, or we might have a more elaborate permission system. And so my thought is to always specify the username, even if we can know who the user is based on other information, just because we might have a more elaborate permission system in the future and more people than just the bot owner might be able to run this. Let's try this. So craps roll without any specifier. We get our roll, new point of 9. And then craps roll with a foo specifier. That looks like the OO is being pulled out. So we're trimming too much here. We're trimming 6 characters. We probably don't want to trim the 4 characters. Let's just see what we're doing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, let's just trim the 4 characters from roll, or substring, everything but the first 4 characters. This is why we do these step-by-step tests, because if I was to code up the whole thing, we would be tracking down all these issues and it'd be real hard to track them down. So by doing it step-by-step, it'll be a little easier to verify what's going on here. And we won't go a long ways without solving these issues. Excellent, so there are the values. Let's go take a look at what's going on here. So what we need to do is to do a split. Let's look up how to do a string split in JavaScript. Yeah, so we want to do a split on space. An array containing the splitted values. So let's say data values. Let's just do some extra testing here. Let's do length. Then we'll do the values, just to do a couple quick tests and see what this looks like here. Of course, the same as before, let's just do a craps roll without any specifier. Now let's do a craps roll foo. Did I crash it? I bet I crashed it. String is not defined. Oops. That's what happens when I copy paste without being mindful of what I'm copying, pasting, and fixing it up. So let's try that one more time. So length of 1, values foo. Now let's try craps roll foo bar. Length is 2. Values is foo comma bar. All right. So if length is not equal to 2, we have an error. You must specify 2 die roll, 2 die values. So if I specify just 1, or if I specify more than 2, like 3 or 4, we will get this error. Now we need to do some parsing. Let's see, we have some example of parsing with the bet command here. Yeah, we have parse int. Let's try this. So var die1 is equal to parse int. Let's do values sub 0. We don't need to do the multiply by 100. And die2 is equal to parse int value sub 1. And then if die1 is not a number, or if die2 is not a number, we're able to parse die values. Well, let's go ahead and return here. Alright, so you must specify 2 die values, or we're unable to parse die values. Otherwise, we get to the very end, and we have what we need. I like the song. Let's go see what song this is here. Through Darkness by Approaching Nirvana. If you ever hear a song that you like, you can always type in the song command to see what Pretzel Rocks is playing. I went back to the Epic channel because I really like the Epic channel on Pretzel Rocks. It's my kind of music. So I think we're good here. I think we have our basic air handling. I think we have our manual die roll. So let's try this and see what this does. So first, let's try a craps roll without any parameters. And we roll a 7. Now let's try a craps roll with a foo specifier. Length is not defined. Right, it's got to be values.length. Just trying to make a copy paste of the song I like here. Alright, so I have this length check that I screwed up. I think I fixed that by saying values.length. Let's give that a try. So as before, let's start with the empty specifier. We'll say craps roll, then craps roll foo. You must specify 2 die values. Let's just go with values. You must specify 2 values. Enable to parse values. Let's try that. So again, let's say craps roll, then craps roll foo. You must specify 2 values. Let's say craps roll foo bar. And we'll parse values. It occurred to me there's another issue here, which is if die1, let's just do it over here. Let's say if die1 is less than 1, or die1 is greater than 6, or if die2, let's just grab these here. Die2 is less than 1, die2 is greater than 6. Value must be between 1 and 6. Because what happens if I do something crazy, like craps roll 50 and 23? Our total is 73. It obviously makes no sense. So I think most of the logic is ignoring that, because what does that even mean? But we want to make sure we don't allow these crappy rolls to to make it into the game. That doesn't like something. This is what, line 203? Oh yeah, I'm missing a close parenthesis. Let's close that up. And try again. So as before, let's do a craps roll with no specifier. So craps roll foo bar. Or let's try foo. To get that one error message, you must specify two values and say craps roll foo bar, unable to parse. Let's try foo1. Craps roll one foo, just to test all those things. And craps roll, let's try 3-3, but let's do like a -1-3. Then let's try craps roll 7-3. Now let's try 3-1. And 3-7. Now let's try the good cases. Let's try 1-1. And try another good case, the 6-6. Try both of our edge cases there. Alright, so where are we? We're on a point of 5. Let's go win that point of 5. So we'll say craps roll 1-4. Excellent, so all the basics seem to be working. We've got some really good error handling, and we can now specify the die rolls. Let's go take a look at our code and see if we're ready to commit. Alright, so I've added a new function, process random roll. I don't know why it's saying all this stuff is deleted, but whatever, Git is be a little weird. We basically do a random die roll as we did before and then process the roll. We've created a new function, process roll. It's basically the same function we had before, except it allows you to specify the die rolls. And here we have process chat commands. Oh, looks like this whole function kind of got rewritten here a little bit. If it doesn't start with craps, then we say, well, if it doesn't start with craps space, so you've typed in craps but no commands afterwards, you must specify commands, so we change that a little bit. We substring it. Here we've modified this, so we still have the roll command. You have to, your username has to match the bot owner, and now debug has to be enabled. That's the thing we've added, and then we call roll command with the new username and the command. We've added else ifs on these, so that if you get to the very end and we haven't run any commands, we'll report back to the user, say unrecognized commands. We're just slowly adding in more elaborate error handling here. Now we've added the roll command. It takes username, password, perform random roll if die values are not specified. So if the command does not start with the word roll and a space, we just do a random roll and return. Otherwise, we get the data, so we basically get a substring that eliminates the word roll and trim out white space. Then we split on space, so the two die numbers, the two die value numbers will be separated by space. If we don't specify two of them, we complain you must specify two values. Then we parse them. If either one of them shows up as not a number, we complain, say unable to parse values, and return. Then we check to see if they're in range. Yeah, it can't be less than 1 or greater than 6 for both die rolls. So if any of those conditions are true, we complain values must be between 1 and 6. We pass that gauntlet of checks, then we process the roll. And that all seems to work. We've done some basic renaming here. We've added in balance. I think we've renamed this balance command as opposed to show balance or whatever it was before. Bet command, or handle bet, is now bet command. We've added debug to our configuration, and we had to add a comma after starting balance. And we've added that to our README as well. I think we might want to look at our README and consider adding like a admin section here. So we have setup, authentication, configuration, usage. Yeah, maybe we could add like a debug section here. Let's go look at the README. You've got usage, Node.js, dependencies, run. Debugging tools. Let's say like die rolls. You can manually roll. Oh, let's see here. You can say if the debug configuration is set to true, the following debug tools are available. Die rolls. You can manually roll the dice using the dice or craps roll command. If you wish, you can specify the die values after the command. Craps roll 3, 4. Let's see, instead of after the command, let's say with the command. Or if you wish, you can specify, specify the die values. Just leave that alone there. So you can manually roll the dice using the craps roll command. If you wish, you can specify the die values. I think that looks good. Let's go take a look at our commit again here. So we're touching 3 files. We have config template, readme, and craps table. So we've gone over all of this. The main thing we've changed is the readme, so let's go look at the readme now. Yeah, so we've documented readme whether or not to enable debugging features. We've added a new section for debugging tools. If the debug configuration is set to true, the following debug tools are available. Die rolls, you can manually roll the dice using the craps roll command. If you wish, you can specify die values. Example, craps roll 3, 4. I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and commit that. let's see, I called it a cheat code. It's not really, it's sort of a cheat code, but it's add ability to specify values when manually rolling dice. Add ability to specify die values when manually rolling dice. Let's go push that to GitHub right away, because I want to look at the README and see if the README still looks good. Yeah, so we have debugging tools. If the debug configuration is set to true, the following debug tools are available. Variables can manually roll the dice using the craps roll command. If you wish, you can specify die value. Example, craps roll 3, 4. Great, nice and simple, pretty basic. One thing to consider is now that we have added a debug setting, let's go look at our config template. We've added a bug setting, and as committed, we have set it to false. And so that roll command is not available unless you actually set debug to true. And so probably before I proceed, I should add in a way of automatically rolling the dice. My thought here is to wait for bets to occur. So like the bot will start and there won't be any bets. And so as long as there's no bets, there's really no point in rolling the dice. So we want to wait for a bet. Once a bet is made, I'd say let's wait a minute for other people to place more bets. And then once that minute expires, then roll the dice and just continue to roll the dice until there are no more bets. And so that's kind of the thought, is to give that a try. So let's kind of think through how that'll work here. We're going to want a timer to run every so often to check to see if we're ready to roll the dice. I have an example of how to do this with my Twitch file, my Twitch craps file here. Let's see, trying to... Yeah, I've got set interval. So let's go create a I'm not sure here yet. Let's see if we can create like an init. Yeah, let's just create an init function. This here looks for a function to call, so we're going to need like a timer function or something. I'll have to think through what to do with that. And then this is how often to call it. Let's say every second. Well, let's keep the message stuff together. Init timer. Yeah, let's go create our timer function. Yeah, let's see. Let's just do a console.log timer function. Just so we can see that this function is being called. So if I run this, nothing should happen because I'd never initialize that timer. We'll just sit there for a second and think about that for a bit. And so what I need to do is go to this guy. I think I want to do a... where is it? I'll just say craps table.init timer. I'll try that again. Timer function is not defined. Or I guess it needs to be this .timer function. Okay, cool. So the timer function is running once per second. Trying to think through what to call this, but let's continue to work on the kind of the logic here. So we're going to need a flag to indicate whether or not we're counting down for something, and then we're also going to need like a counter. So we could say like timer running is equal to false. And the timer counter is equal to 0. It doesn't really matter. As long as timer running is false, we won't do anything here. So if not timer running, if the timer is not running, then return. Oops, not in the init. Let's do it in the timer function. Let's get rid of the log. We know it's running at this point. Otherwise, if we are running, let's say, oops, this needs to be this.timer running. Otherwise, let's say this.timer counter minus minus. If this.timer timer counter is less than or equal to 0, then we do something. Maybe process random roll is what we want, so let's try that. Just thinking through this list a little bit here. We need to come up with conditions where the timer gets set. And so we could do like a maybe like a start timer. This was a timer, this.timer running. True. This.timer counter is equal to number of seconds. Let's go with 15 seconds for now, just so we don't have to wait a full minute for things to run. This will give us kind of an abbreviated way of testing this. So if we start the timer, we'll set the running to true, we'll set the counter to 15. Probably need a stop timer. If this comes in, we'll say timer running is equal to false. So anytime the timer should be running, we'll call start timer. Anytime it should stop, we'll call stop timer. So let's just go look through and see where this should go. So if we place a bet, this is one place where the timer should run. So if the bet is made, we'll say this.start timer. The first time someone places a bet, we'll start the 15-second timer. Every time someone makes a bet, it actually reset the timer, so that's great. So if someone makes a bet within that 15 seconds, we will reset that timer to 15 seconds again. So that's one place. The other is during a die roll. This class is beginning to get a little unwieldy here. Yeah, this is a little tricky because we have our bet handling. We potentially win automatically with a 7 or 11, and if we do win, we don't want to continue running the timer. So yeah, so let's say this dot stop timer. If we have a loser, same thing. No need to continue running the timer. If we've established a point, the result hasn't won or lost yet, so let's keep the timer running here. Say start timer again just to resume the 15-second timer. If a point was made, we've won, and we'll stop the timer. If we 7'd out, we've lost, and we'll stop the timer. Let's see, if we don't have a point, 7, 11, 2, 3, 12. So that handles every single case for not having a point. If we do have a point, you check to see that, check to see that. But yeah, so the very last thing is to say else this dot start timer. Otherwise, start the timer for the next roll. So this should allow us to run through an entire roll completely automatically, so I won't have to run the craps roll command any longer. Let's see if this much works. This is line 34. Oh. I was getting confused with the different syntax required in different sections, so let's give this another try. Alright, so I'm going to place a bet and see what this does here. And if somebody else wants to place a bet, you're welcome to do so as well. Say craps bet, a pass line bet for a 1, and let's see what that does. So in about 15 seconds, that should do an automatic roll. I made it to grab a stopwatch just to make sure that it is 15 seconds. It does seem to take forever. Yeah, I think something's broken here. This seems longer than 15 seconds. So while we're waiting, let's take a look at our code and just see what we've got going on here. We have a init timer, start timer, stop timer. If timer is not running, return. Oh, we need a timer counter here. Yeah. So let's try this one more time. And again, craps, bet, pass line of 1. And wait a little bit for the auto timer to run here. That's been 15 seconds, so something is still wrong. Let's go take a look at the code again. We have a init timer. Init timer sets interval. Well, let's just add in this again, just so we have that. So let's add in the counter. Just to try to see what's going wrong here. Alright, so the timer function is running. But I'm not getting past this here. So if this timer running, return. If not this timer running, so start timer, we say this timer running is equal to true. Huh. So timer running plus this dot timer running. And since we're not going to get a whole bunch of output here, let's add in a blank line just so we can see what's going on. Timer running undefined. Huh. This dot timer running. Huh. Okay, I'm not really sure what's going on there. Let's just try var foo equals false. It's possible that false is equal to undefined, so we'll just do a quick test here. We've been able to initialize everything else. We've initialized player balances, we've initialized pass bets, initialized point. Why is this not getting initialized? Let's just look at some of the other values here. Let's drop foo. Try timer, counter. Just to rule out anything else unusual going on. Timer counter is also undefined. Okay. You know, I think I might be running into a context issue. Let's try points. This is something that we know works. Alright. So we know that point works because we've used that in like a roll function and all of our other stuff. So somehow we've lost our class context coming into this timer function here. Let's go see what our context is. I think this will just tell us our context, so let's try that to see what we get here. Called idle timeout. Start on timeout. So this looks like a bunch of timer stuff here. So let's go see. We're using this timer, the set interval. Let's go see what set interval looks like and if there's a way to fix this. JavaScript set interval. So set interval function. Maybe context? Bind. Let's try that. Say dot bind this. Oh, good. So, all right, so that works. So we now have timer running false, timer counter 0, point. We have our whole class now, so perfect. I just need to bind this object when I'm calling my interval function. Let's go clear out some of this junk here. I think it's all working at this point, so let's drop that. I'm going to drop that for the moment. And try this one more time. So craps bet pass line of 1. Set my stopwatch again to see if this is working within our 15-second window here. Alright, great. So we've rolled a 4-4, established a point of 8. And so we should roll again in about 15 more seconds. One 5, a roll of 6, so no change. We'll roll again in 15 seconds. We hit our 9, or we didn't hit a 9, we just hit a 9. We're still waiting for the point of 8. We hit a 5. An 11. So still waiting for that 5, or sorry, that 8 to come back. We're hitting everything but the 8. 6, 9, 5, 11, 4. Still waiting on that 8. Another 9. This is where the cheat code would come in handy, but since I'm testing the automatic die rolling, I don't want to cheat. 5 again. Another 5. 5 is the hot number of the day. We've got 3 of those so far. Eight. There's our 8. The point was made. I won 1 simoleon, and that should stop the timer at this point. I'll wait a little bit and see, but that should stop the auto rolling. Yeah, looks like it has. I'm not seeing any more rolling, so let's go look at this a little bit further. We've set this this timer counter to 15. We probably want to do a configuration for this. Let's go look up our config template. Let's do this. Let's say rolling delay. Let's go with 60. Let's go with 1 minute. Delay for rolling after the last bet is placed. Let's go put that in. Let's see, where was that? That was between message interval and starting bounce. This will be my local config. Let's try this even shorter. Let's try 1. Actually, that's going to be very fast. Let's try 5 instead. So I don't want to spam my chat channel too hard. We'll try 5 to see if this works. Let's go use that configuration. The timer counter is equal to config dot, what did I call it? Rolling delay. And this should be in seconds. So yeah, let's just give this one more try, see if this works with 5 seconds. Say craps bet pass of 1, and now we should see a result every 5 seconds here. It should go a lot faster. So another point of 8 and 7 out right away. So that was a lot faster, partially because it went every 5 seconds, but also because we 7'd out immediately. Yeah, so that looks good. Let's go reset this back to 60. I think that'll be a more usable setting for real usage. Let's go ahead and document this. Rolling delay after message interval. Now let's go look at the code, see if I think we're at a good commit point here. Alright, so in the craps table class, we have added in these new variables, timer running and timer counter. We have this init timer function that we call from within our Twitch craps code that sets the interval, runs our timer every second, and we have to bind our own context to it, so we have access to our class variables. Then we have start timer, stop timer, helper functions, and timer function. Let's call this craps timer. Start to close up some of this stuff here. Call it craps timer. I want to make sure that works. So let's go through and do a simple test, make sure that does indeed work. I'll let Streamlabs make the bet this time. I think I have a test command that allows Streamlabs to make bets, or stream elements, sorry. So the point is 9. And we 7 out again immediately. That seems to be working just fine. Excellent. Go back to 60. Yeah, so we call it craps timer now. I think that's a better name. Still pretty generic, but I think it'll work. Let's add a comment to that. Does it delay? Is that what I called it? Do nothing if the timer isn't running. Ah. I could say roll the dice if the delay is expired, but I'm basically replicating the comment in the function header there, so I think I'm just going to leave that alone. They've only added comments, so I'm tempted to try that again just to make sure I haven't screwed up anything. Just do a quick test here. So we've established a point of 6. We roll a 3, still waiting for that 6. 8, still waiting for that 6. And again, still waiting for that 6. Ooh, a hard 8 twice in a row. 5, still waiting on that 6. 10, still waiting on that 6. Or 7 out, line away. Stream Elements lost $1. Let's go see where we're at. As we just added some comments, roll the dice. After the specified rolling delay has expired, do nothing if the timer isn't running. Otherwise, decrement the counter if the timer is less than or equal to 0. Then perform a random die roll. Then we've done some checks here. If you roll a 7 or 11 right away, we stop the timer. If you roll a crap, so a 2, 3, or 12, we stop the timer. If we've established a point, we start the timer again, as the pass line bet does not go away. If we've made the point, we stop the timer. If we 7 out, we stop the timer. Otherwise, if we have a point and we haven't hit the point or 7 out, we keep the timer going. We start the timer again. Then when a bet comes in, we start the timer here as well. Let's see, in our configuration, well, actually in our Twitch Craps code, we've added an init timer call, so that'll initialize the timer after everything else is running. We've added a configuration rolling delay of 60, delay for rolling after the last bet is placed. Well, that should be in seconds. Let's go fix that. I specified it here, but not in the template. Let's go fix up the template. Let's try this one more time. Yeah, so rolling delay 60, delay for rolling after the last bet is placed in seconds. Then we've added a note to our README, delay for rolling after the last bet is placed, also in seconds. So that looks good. Let's go ahead and commit to that and see where we're at. Automatically roll the dice when there are bets. Let's see. What do they put for my comment on that function? So you roll the dice after the rolling delay has expired. Yeah, we'll go with that. What is next? Maintain a minimum balance for each player. Players below the minimum balance are set to the minimum after a 7 out. Yeah, so the idea here is if you place a bet and you you lose a bunch of money that we want to maintain a minimum balance for players. So let's go look at this here. We have a starting balance. Let's go with a minimum balance instead. Let's say minimum balance for players. Let's go fix this line up in our real or in our committed file here. This should also appear in the README. And finally, this will appear in our code as well. So let's just look for our curses of starting balance. Go ahead and rename this to minimum balance. So I think that's it. I don't think there's any other curses of starting balance, and no, there are not. And so the code says, or my notes say, players below the minimum balance are set to the minimum after a 7 out. So a 7 out, that's handled in our roll function. Process roll. Check to see if we 7'd out. So here we say reset the point, we send out a message, we process bets, and then we stop the timer. What we probably need to do is also add in a minimum balances, check minimum balances. So let's say this dot check minimum balances. Where would we want to put that? I think we have some helper functions for getting balances. Yeah, so we've got get balance. Let's do new function check minimum balances. And I want to iterate over all of the player balances. I think we have a way of doing that here. Yeah, we'll say, let's grab this as an example. So let username of bets.keys instead. In this case, is going to be what? I think this dot player balances. So this will give you each username that has a balance. So we can say, let's get rid of all of this. Oh, we'll keep it. Let's see. If this dot get balance for username is less than config dot minimum balance, then we want to do something. Let's say this dot player balances dot set, I think. Yeah, we'll say set. players below the minimum. Set player balances to the minimum balance for all players below the minimum. So we iterate over every username in player balances. We get their balance. If it is less than the minimum balance, then we... Oh, I need to do times 100 here. For those wondering why I'm doing the times 100, this is why. Balances are stored in hundredths of one unit of currency, so therefore we multiply the configured balance by 100. That's what allows us to do the fractional amounts. You know why I'm seeing 1.00. So let's see if this works. To test this, I'm going to just make use of the cheat codes at this point to make this far easier to test. So let's run it. Now let's do a quick test. Let's say craps, bets, pass, 10. Craps, roll, 6, 6. So lost 10. Now let's check my craps balance. I'm at 90. Should be at 100. Oh, that's a good point, because we did not 7 out. As I said, all they do this after a 7 out, and that wasn't a 7 out. So let's continue on. Let's say, craps, bet, pass of 10. Let's do a craps roll of 5, 6, 2, why not? Another craps roll of 3, 4 to have a 7 out. My balance is now back to 100. So yes, I lost $10, got set down to negative 90, or not negative 90, but 90, down from 100. Then I lost $10 more, and that would have sent me down to 80, but the auto balance, the auto minimum check would have set me back to 100. So that seems to be working just fine. Alright, so we've renamed starting balance to minimum balance. We've added a function, check minimum balances, set the player balances to the minimum balance for all players. Below the minimum. So we've added this check right after we do the 7 out. We've updated our config template to go minimum balance rather than starting balance. We've updated our README to go minimum balance rather than starting balance. And I think we're ready to go. Maintain a minimum balance for each player. Let's see, up next is to save player balances. Unfortunately, I kind of need to roll at this point. This is a short stream today because I want to wrap up before the Super Bowl begins. And I need time myself to get ready for my own anti-Super Bowl party. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. We've made some good progress today. We've added more documentation. We've added the cheat code to manually specify die values. We've added automatic die roller functionality, and now we maintain a minimum balance for each player. So we're basically continuing to build up the the kind of core infrastructure for a craps table chatbot. Next up is to save player balances. This is going to preserve them in some sort of data file so that if the bot is closed and restarted, those balances will be saved. And then I think I'm going to move this down. I want to start adding some of these other craps bets because I think these are going to be real interesting, and they're going to force me to refactor a lot of stuff. And then we'll see if allowing players to serve as the bank is something that'll be interesting once we get down there. So let me go push this to GitHub. I don't think I've pushed my last 2 commits yet. Yeah, let's go push those. Let's check our README file. Make sure that still shows up correctly. Yeah, so we have channel, owner, message interval, rolling delay, minimum balance for players, debug. Yeah, so that all looks good for those who are checking me out. This is my stream schedule. I was working today on the open source software development Twitch craps table chatbot. My next stream will be 1 week from today, Sunday, February 10th at 9 a.m. So feel free to check me out at that time. Remember that I am in the United States Pacific time zone, which is UTC -8. So keep that in mind when doing your own time zone calculations. And I will see you guys next Sunday. Thank you for checking me out, and have a great day.